Hello friends, I am Amir Anwar Nazami and today we are going to study the control on deflection following the IS 456 code 2000. So let's start. So first of all we have taken a problem which we have solved in the MATLAB and this code is done using the finite element approach. So the problem is as follows: a beam having a uniformly distributed loads with different supports conditions. So different support conditions means one is simply supported. We have taken one. We have considered the propped cantilever beam, fixed beam, okay, cantilever beam. So in such a manner, different types of beam we have taken, but the loads we have considered is same, that is uniformly distributed load with a magnitude of -10, and number of elements we have considered 200, and value of modulus of elasticity is 25,000. Depth of the beam is 400, width of the beam is 200, and the length of the beam is 6,000. So these all properties are same for all types of beam. So now we have to compare the results and for the deflection. So let's start. So this is the deflected shape of a beam which we have obtained from the MATLAB, and that is as it's shown, which is for the fixed beam. So the maximum displacement we can see here, that we are obtaining the maximum displacement here, which is approximately -1.3 roughly. So we are getting 1.3 mm approx. So next let's see, this is the deflected shape of a propped cantilever beam. So the propped cantilever beam, here it is shown that at this end propped cantilever beam, we know what we know about the propped cantilever beam, that if we take this end is a fixed end and this end is a simply supported, okay, and the load of UDL, uniformly distributed load, with a magnitude P equals to 10. So Newton per meter has been applied. This is the load applied on this beam whose length was 6,000, and all the properties I have shown. So this end we are looking at, this end what we can say, this is the fixed end where the deflection as well as slope is 0. So delta is 0 as well as slope is also 0. So here we can see at this point both deflection and the slope, if you make a tangent to this point, so it will be horizontal, so it will be 0. So the slope and deflection both is 0 at this point, whereas at this point if you make a tangent, so we know that there is a slope which is not 0, so this slope is obtained. So this end both slope and the deflection is 0, and this end only the deflection is 0 but not the slope. So this is a propped cantilever beam, and we are seeing the maximum displacement here is minus of 2.5. So this deflection 2.7, so this deflection is greater than what we have observed when the both end was fixed. So at both end fixed we have obtained 1.3 mm, but when one end is fixed and one end is simply supported, which we tell that a propped cantilever. This is also called propped cantilever. Propped cantilever beam. So for this beam we are obtaining approximately double the deflections, and the properties are same load, same width, same depth, and all the properties are same, just the support conditions are varied, that one end is here fixed and another end is simply supported. The deflection got increased just by almost double of the value. Now let's see the next one. So this is the deflected shape of a simply supported beam. So if we can see, it is a simply supported beam where one end is hinged and another end is roller, and the UDL load is applied here, whose magnitude was same, and all other properties, width, depth, and all the properties are same, but only support condition is here, hinged and roller. So now we can see that what we have observed the results. So we have obtained this result, which is approximately, we can see here that roughly it was 6.5 mm. So it is much greater than the last what we have obtained here as 2.7 mm for prop cantilever, for a fixed beam 1.3 mm. So this here we have obtained 6.5 mm, which is larger than all the last two cases. So when this is the simply supported at both end, then we will get the deflection larger. Now let's see next case. So this is a deflected shape of a cantilever. So we can see that it is a cantilever beam. So the load is applied P, and all width depth is same for all the beam. So now we can see that for this case the deflection here, the maximum deflection what we have obtained here is almost 62.5 mm. So it is much larger than the last cases, because what we have obtained there, it was 2.7 mm for this and 6.5 mm for the simply supported beam, but now we can see it is 62.5 mm. So it is 10 times almost greater than what we have obtained for the simply supported case. So for the same load, P equals to minus 10 Newton per mm for the same load, what we are getting, and all the other criteria that width depth is same, we are getting a deflection is much larger than the other cases here. Only support conditions are what here? It's a cantilever. One end is fixed and another end is free. So when the support conditions changes, we can see the deflection also changes, and it varies a lot. So what the provision has been given for from the IS code 456 for the deflection check. So let us see. And before that, one thing we have just made here, that we have plotted a graph here which is showing all the four cases. All four cases are shown here. All four cases. What are the four cases? One is simply supported, another is fixed, propped cantilever and cantilever. So this, what it is showing here, it is a cantilever. So it is a cantilever beam whose maximum deflection was obtained such as minus 65 point some mm. Then we have obtained a simply supported beam whose deflection is almost 6.5 mm roughly we were getting. Then this yellow is here prop cantilever beam, where we were obtaining almost 2.5 mm, and this is the fixed beam what we have obtained here as a fixed beam. This cases was almost 1.3 mm. So we can see that the fixed beam is having the maximum deflection of 1.3 mm, which is the least of all the other cases, having the least deflection of all the other cases. Then the next deflection which we are showing, that 2.5 mm, is for the prop cantilever beam, then the simply supported beam, and the maximum among all was the cantilever beam. So all the beam were having the same depth, same width, same material properties, and all other case, just the support conditions changes, and we are saying that the result got varied for the deflections, and these variation are very large. So now let's see the codal provision from IS 456. So what it is given, that the word it is from the IS 456, this clause is taken from IS 456 2000. So we have considered, so what it states, the vertical deflections may generally be assumed to be satisfied provided by the span to depth ratios are not greater than the values obtained as follows. So basic values of span to depth, effective depth ratios for spans up to 10 meter. For the spans up to 10 meter, these are the clause that cantilever, for a cantilever beam, what it has given, 7 by L by D equals to 7. So what we can say, that a cantilever beam, when we have second the cantilever beam, L by D is equals to 7. So suppose length is 6000, we have considered, we suppose we don't know D, it is equals to 7, then D would be almost 6000 by 7. So it is roughly 756, almost 850 or something, we can say roughly we will get this mm. So minimum effective depth we have to consider is this much. So we are telling it is a effective depth. So there is a variation in total depth and effective depth, we will discuss it later, but here we will say that this is the effective depth. So effective depth required is almost 850 mm. But for this case, let us see what it states, that L by D is 20, then D is equals to L by 20 means 6000 by 20. So 300 mm. So for simply supported, the effective depth required is 300 mm. And now let's see for the continuous. So D would be 6000 by 26. So if you will divide it to 26 to the 52, and then so it would be around 230 or something roughly, we will say. So it would be lesser than this depth. So what we have observed here, that for cantilever beam L by D is 7, so we have to consider the maximum depth for the same span length, of a beam with different support conditions. So for cantilever we have to consider the depth, that should be 850 mm, and for simply supported beam we have to consider L by D, where D depth should be, can be 300 mm, and for continuous beam it would be around 230 or something. So this is the criteria, that's why it has been taken, because we know that as the support condition varies, the deflection also changes rapidly. So now let's see what's the definition of the effective depth it has given. The effective depth of a beam is the distance between the centroid of the area of the tension reinforcement and the maximum compression fiber. If we make a beam with reinforced cement concrete RCC design, then what is has been considered, that the effective depth, suppose we have made a cross section of a beam, suppose it is the total depth of the beam, and suppose it is the main reinforcement bar here. So center of the main reinforcement bar to the maximum compression fiber. So effective depth of the beam is the distance between the centroid of the area of tension reinforcement, it is the area of tension reinforcement, centroid of the area of the tension reinforcement, to and the maximum compression fiber, to the distance between the maximum compression fiber, it is the maximum compression fiber here. So this distance is, we can see that this is the distance which is called the effective depth, and this here to here, center of this, from this point, this here to here, it is called effective depth, is effective cover, sorry, effective cover. So now we can see The effective depth of the beam is the distance between the centroid of the area of tension reinforcement and the maximum compression fiber, excluding the thickness of finishing material not placed monolithically with the member and the thickness of any concrete provided to allow for the wear. So this clause is there is a note in this clause that this will not apply to the deep beam. It is only applicable up to the beam which is general for designing, but not for the deep beam, because for deep beam we will consider the shear cases there, because shear dominates. So that would be the different design criteria. So now we will see the next. So here it has been shown that the effective depth is here. It has shown that small d distance and the total depth, and it is the main reinforcement bar. So what this cross section implies, this cross section implies that the reinforcement bar would be provided at the near the bottom of the fibers. So when it would be provided near the bottom of the fibers, because when the bottom fiber would be in tension, so where it is the sagging case, so we can see that in the sagging case here it is in the tension, and the top part compression. So this graph is called the sagging. So in this curvature it's the sagging part, so the tension is below. So to avoid the cracks here, we will provide this reinforcement bar. It is the reinforcement bar which is shown with the black color, reinforcement bar. So when we will make the cross section, when we will cut this at any cross section, so we will just see this cross section, that a width of B and a depth of D and a reinforcement bar which is shown here with the black, is at distance, some distance from the tension fiber. So this effective cover, or we can see that from this distance to this distance, is called the clear cover. Clear cover. Why it is why it has been provided? It has been provided for the durability conditions, that the moisture, outside moisture or anything do not attack to the steel, because it will get the corrosion, rusting, and it will reduce the durability. So we take the consideration. So therefore we provide the clear cover to this. Now here, so now we can see here at this position that the main reinforcement bar or tension reinforcement bar has been provided at the top fiber, near the top fiber. So then we can see that this section is possible when the beam is hogging. So hogging case is like this, where this top would be in tension and bottom would be in compression. So therefore near the top fiber, this black color has been reinforcement bar. The reinforcement bar has been provided to avoid the cracks at the tension fiber. So therefore the reinforcement bar has been provided at this end, so it is near the tension fiber. So here just a figure has been taken from the internet, and it has been shown here that a simply supported beam is there, and a steel reinforcement bar has been provided at the bottom end, because we know that here the sagging would be occur. So a sagging would occur here in the simply supported beam. This would be the criteria, sagging case. So therefore the tension would be at the bottom fiber, which has been shown. So therefore the steel reinforcement would be provided near this, and we know that the L by D criteria would be here 20. And this cross section is shown here, which is showing here the reinforcement bar, that this is the reinforcement bar what we have shown, reinforcement bar. And this is the cantilever case, because here we know that in the cantilever beam it would show the hogging case. So hogging case, where the top fiber would be in tension and bottom fiber would be in compression. So in the tension zone we have to provide the a steel reinforcement bar. So therefore a steel reinforcement bar has been provided. This is the reinforcement bar here with the blue color reinforcement bar. So this is the given reinforcement bar. So here it has been shown with the cross section, that if you will cut the cross section here and then if you will see it, so we will see that reinforcement bar has been provided here. So here something is been given, a compression reinforcement or flexion members. So what is the compression reinforcement bar? So if a beam cross section is limited because of the architectural or other considerations, it may happen that the concrete cannot develop the compression force required to resist the given bending moment. So what happened that when we design a beam, so might we require the L by D ratio, that somewhere we require the L by D ratio, suppose 20, and there suppose D is approximately 550 mm we are getting, but architect has told to give the depth only to be 350 mm. So for fulfilling this criteria, because of the architectural view we have to preserve, then we have to design it as a doubly reinforced, so called doubly reinforced. So in this doubly reinforced one, what we have to do, we have to make a reinforcement, we have to provide at compression zone, also compression zone, so therefore to resist the higher load. So therefore it has been written that if a beam cross section is limited, okay, because of the architectural or other considerations, it may happen that the concrete cannot develop the compression fiber, so concrete cannot develop the compression force required to resist the given bending moment. So in this case reinforcing is added in the compression zone. So reinforcing is added in the compression zone, resulting in a so-called doubly reinforced beam, that is one with the compression as well as tension reinforcement. So compression reinforced is also used to improve serviceability. So there is one more uses, which is improving the serviceability, improving long-term deflections, which is creep, and to provide the support for stirrups through the beam, so that we can bind the bars. So it also helps in binding the bars for the main reinforcement bars or tension reinforcement bars. So these are the uses for the compression reinforcement. Now one can ask the question that here what it has been mentioned, that we can see that if a beam cross section is limited because of the architectural or other considerations, it may happen that concrete cannot develop the compression force required to resist the given moment. So beam cross section has been mentioned. So you can also ask that we are getting the cross section, so why we are talking only increasing the depth, why not width? Why not width we are increasing, but only depth we are increasing? Because we know that I, that is the moment of inertia, is BD cube by 12. So if we increase the depth once, so it would increase the moment of inertia cubic times, D cube times. So therefore we always try to increase the depth, so that if we increase a little amount of the depth, it would increase the moment of inertia higher. Other than if we increase the width of the beam, it would only single times it will increase the some value of the moment of inertia, but not much effective. So therefore we always consider to increase the depth of the beam to get the higher moment of inertia, and higher moment of inertia means higher resisting capacity, or higher stiffness means less deflection. So that's why we increase the depth. So here a figure I have taken from the internet. So why reinforcement is provided in the top of the cantilever, it was the given quotation there. So a cantilever beam, which we have studied, that it will sag, so it will it will hog. So when it would be hogging, so therefore it would be in the top fiber would be in tension. So therefore this red has been shown that a tension reinforcement bar has been provided at top, and here it is a simply supported beam. So at bottom tension reinforcement would be provided. So here this stirrups has been shown. So beam has been shown where this is the main reinforcement bars, and here it is the we can say that compression bars are provided, so it will help to just bind the bars. And here we can see in this figure that the tension reinforcement bar is here, which is main bar here, main bar, and here the top is compression bar, but here it was main bar was this was the main bar, and this was the compression bar. Okay, so when we have the both the situations, when we can see the both the situations simultaneously, when suppose we are having a beam which is propped cantilever, we can say here if we are having a propped cantilever beam, so we will get a deflected shape like this. So here we can see that this is the sagging portion and here it is the hogging portion. So at this case if we will cut, so here at this position this is the hog case, and here at this position this is the sagging case. So for the hogging case we know that at this end the top reinforcement bar would be provided here at this point, and here we can see that a bottom reinforcement bar would be provided. So we will cut this section which is 2 2. So we will get here the simply supported cases, means this bar criteria, and if we would cut the section along this, which we can say 1 1 1 1, so we will get the top fibers. So here this criteria. So therefore we have understood how to draw the deflected shape, and what is the provision to provide the reinforcement bar, where we will provide the reinforcement bar in top, and where we will provide the main bar or reinforcement bar at the bottom. So thank you.